Greater than he ignored every woman who crossed his path, cold, untouchable, and feared. But the night he rescued a kidnapped, drugged girl bleeding on the roadside, his life cracked open in ways he never saw coming. What started as mercy turned into obsession, what looked like love hid a terrifying truth, and what she remembered could destroy him forever. Stay till the end, because this story doesn't just break hearts, it exposes them. Subscribe to this channel now, because stories like this don't come twice. He was known as the man no woman could reach, the billionaire CEO whose name alone silenced boardrooms and froze hearts, a man so emotionally distant that rumors claimed he didn't even know what love felt like, and perhaps they were right, because Adrian Cale had built his empire on control, discipline, and walls so high no one could climb them, until one rain-soaked night shattered everything he believed about himself when he ordered his driver to stop the car on an empty highway where headlights revealed a girl collapsed on the asphalt, her clothes torn, lips pale, eyes barely open, the stench of drugs and fear clinging to her fragile body, and for the first time in his life, Adrian Cale felt something panic, real and uncontrollable, as he carried her into his arms while she whispered a single broken word, "Please," before losing consciousness, and against every rule he lived by, against his own security chief's warning, against logic itself, he took her not to a hospital, not to the police, but to his own heavily guarded mansion, a decision that would haunt him, save him, and nearly destroy him all at once, because the girl named Alara had been kidnapped, drugged, and erased from the world for 3 days, sold and passed between men whose faces she could barely remember, except for one voice, deep and familiar, a voice that would later echo in Adrian's nightmares. While inside the mansion, doctors worked in silence and Adrian stood outside the bedroom door all night, refusing to leave, watching her chest rise and fall as if his own life depended on it, and when she woke screaming, shaking, begging not to be touched, Adrian did something no one had ever seen him do before. He knelt beside her bed and promised she was safe, his voice steady while his hands trembled, and from that moment, the CEO who ignored every woman became the man who personally ensured her meals were warm, her blankets soft, her nightmares chased away by his presence, sitting beside her every night as she slowly healed, physically first, then emotionally, and Alara noticed things no one else dared to notice, like how his eyes softened only when he looked at her, how he flinched at certain words, how the mansion itself seemed built like a fortress against memories he refused to face, and as days turned into weeks, her fragmented memories returned in flashes: blood on marble floors, a ring engraved with a serpent, a voice counting numbers before everything went dark, and each time she mentioned these things, Adrian grew paler, quieter, more distant, as if the past she was uncovering was tied to him in ways he didn't want to admit, and the truth was far darker than Alara imagined, because years ago, before he became the ruthless CEO, Adrian had been trapped in the same criminal underworld, forced to survive by working for the very syndicate that had kidnapped her, a past he had burned, buried, and sworn never to return to. But the men who hurt her were connected to his former mentor, the man who had taught him how to be merciless, and now they wanted Alara back, not because she was valuable, but because she had heard something she shouldn't have, a secret transaction involving Adrian's company that could collapse the empire he built to escape that life. And when attackers breached the mansion one night, Alara saw Adrian transform not into a savior, but into something terrifyingly precise, ruthless, efficient, a man who didn't hesitate to kill to protect her. And when she confronted him, demanded to know who he really was, Adrian finally broke, confessing that he ignored women not out of arrogance, but fear, because every woman he ever cared about had been used against him, destroyed, or killed, and he refused to let Alara become another name carved into his guilt. But it was too late, because she was already in love with him, and love made her brave enough to leave the mansion secretly to face the truth about her kidnapping, only to discover the most devastating twist of all: that she had not been randomly taken. She had been targeted because she was the illegitimate daughter of the syndicate's leader, stolen to punish him, drugged to silence her, and when her father learned Adrian was protecting her, he ordered both of them eliminated, forcing Adrian to choose between running forever or ending the cycle of violence he helped create. And in a final confrontation inside an abandoned warehouse soaked in rain and betrayal, Alara regained her full memory, remembering the voice she feared most belonged not to Adrian, but to the man she called father. And when Adrian stood in front of her, taking a bullet meant for her, bleeding out on concrete while whispering that saving her was the only thing that ever made his life worth living, Alara screamed for him to stay, confessing she would rather die than lose him, and in that moment, the syndicate leader realized too late that the man he once controlled had become the one thing he couldn't break, because Adrian survived, barely, and the evidence Alara carried brought the criminal empire crashing down. Months later, the mansion no longer felt like a prison, but a home, and Adrian, once the cold CEO who ignored every woman, stood in sunlight holding Alara's hand, knowing that love didn't make him weak, it made him human, and the girl he saved didn't just heal in his care, she became the miracle that redeemed his soul, proving that sometimes, the person who rescues you is also the one who needs saving the most.